All right, everybody, we are live. My name's Wendy, and you are watching Wendy Makes Art. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We're going to give everyone a chance to get on. And while we do that, I'm going to dare to sit these back up here like I had them somewhat. They were like this. However, Pogo the Terror had jumped up and blocked all over the painting. Luckily, she didn't have any wet stuff on her paws, but she is known to be a terror, and I had a feeling. I was like, I'm gonna set these out here, we'll see what she does. Sure enough, she jumped up on this. So let's talk about what we're gonna do tonight and what all you need to work on something along with me if you want to spend a little bit of time in your studio doing something similar. I was talking to an artist friend earlier this week, and one of the things that we were talking about exercises and things that you could do with your artwork. And one of those ideas that came out of that conversation and something that I don't do enough of is to take the plein air work that I've done from life in the field, bring it back into the studio, and then sketch it out and work on compositions and redesign it. Design it so that I ask some smart questions. What didn't work? What does work? What could be better? And then you can make little tiny sketches. You can do thumbnails and create a new piece or new pieces from it to try to learn from what you did and or improve the painting and make studio work. That's not what we're going to do tonight, though. Go West. So glad you're here. Hey, hope your day is awesome. And let's talk a little bit about what we are going to do. I was recently in a group exhibition, and we all had to volunteer and show sit, which is great because you have time to spend looking at the art and everybody else's art. And it was a really fun mixed bag of nuts, meaning it wasn't all plein air work. It was everything from abstract to landscape to portraits to fantasy artwork, the whole gamut, and sculpture. And so it was really awesome to see the variety and have that variety in one show. I really think that's a lot of fun. I like both for different reasons, but I stood back and I was looking in the room and I thought, what really has an impact? What stands out to me and why? And in everything in the whole room, I noticed the big paintings have a presence. And when you paint so much plein air, I love painting plein air. I know Go West is here and she paints plein air with me a lot. You have to work smaller. You have a short amount of time, and we're working on getting bigger, but you're really limited by your time. And so you can't take a giant panel. You've got wind issues. You're never going to complete it in 2 hours unless you're using like brushes that are, I don't know, like maybe a foot. Depending on the size, it would be pretty fun. Today we are going to talk about pieces that I want to take from plein air that I liked for different reasons that may need a compositional restructure and things that I want to add to them. And I'm going to convert these guys into 30 by 40 paintings. So I walked around and I started looking at the measurements, and I didn't even have to take a measuring stick. I just looked at the tags, and I noticed that 30 by 40 was like the sweet spot. 36 by 48, that's pretty awesome too. So it's just a very nice size. It's manageable. It's not too big. I've been working in the studio a lot with 22 by 30, 18 by 24s, and those are still half the size of what they need to be for that big presence. So yeah, Jay Frederick, so glad you're here. 30 by 40 is massive. It's going to be a big undertaking because I know what these 22 by 30s are taking me, and it's like, it's just unbelievable. And I know our friend Phyllis she's not on here right now unless she's watching, and I just can't see her on here, but she works pretty big in her studio work. And I have a new appreciation for all the big paintings she does, because holy cow, they are a big investment. I mean, you've got a lot of time and a lot of stuff going on. So I narrowed it down, and I'll kind of tell you what I'm thinking, and we're going to sketch this one. So we've got to put some sketches together. So if you are doing something like this and looking at what you want to work on to go bigger, you're just going to need a sketchbook, some drawing materials, and then your original painting, and maybe some reference photos, or you can start to gather some reference photos. And we'll kind of walk through that process, because I know from what I have and what I want, I might have to end up putting a photo session together. So I have some ideas in mind for that. If you guys have any ideas, share them. Drop them in chat. Let's see. Go West. Gator board for mounting in bulk. Yes, we're going to have to talk about that. Gator board is astronomically expensive, but I'm going to need some big gator board. And the other thing is, because I love gouache so much, and I'm considering doing these all in big gouaches. I don't know who's doing large gouaches. Everybody's taking it out or doing small studies, and I thought, that's a fascinating concept. What if I make like a ginormous 30 by 40 inch gouache painting? How cool is that, right? So what I need to do that, I like to mount my panels. Here's this one I got pre-mounted, but I have been doing a lot of mounting of my own. And I just like it. Kind of, the paint will sit on top of it a little better. So preparing and mounting a massive 30 by 40 piece is exciting, like to try that out and see if I can pull it off. So anyway, yes, we'll talk about that. Definitely. Jay Frederick, anybody else? There is a company, I'll have to look where we get them from work, because we look at pricing, and I'll give you some idea, Go West, on where we might be able to get those and how much. Maybe we even buy a couple of sheets from my work stash. They might let me do that and reimburse them. That might be the best way for us to be able to afford it. So we'll talk about that. In the meantime, Mid Lebowski, that is a great question. Where am I going to put 30 by 40 paintings? I do have one wall here, and if they're on panels, we can get away with that. I've got some big canvases that are, I think they're 5 by 6 feet over here, or maybe 4 by 5 feet. They're not 30 by 40, or maybe they are. I have to look. Anyway, we might just have to stack them in the corner. I don't know, until, suddenly we're having massive art sales. It'll be incredible, right? Perfectly stored behind doors in every room. Exactly, Go West. And that's why I'm thinking you are spot on with the gator board. Gator board, for those of you who don't know, or who may be watching the reel afterwards, gator board is not foam core. Foam core is squishy. If you push on foam core, you're going to dent it. Gator board is really hard, so it's a lot more expensive, but it's still lightweight. You can cut it without a saw, and you can mount paper to it, and it's not gonna dent. I mean, unless you jump on it, and then it's gonna crack. But you can frame it. You have thinner panels to store, so that is another option. The other thing I thought about was cradled wood boards, because you can get them 30 by 40 or 36 by 48. So I thought about doing cradled boards and ordering the watercolor paper to mount right on the cradled board. And that is funny that you said that. I will say it took me half an hour to find this painting. I have so many paintings in so many locations. I had paintings in flat files. I had paintings in boxes. I had paintings in my downstairs studio. I had paintings in this closet in my upstairs studio. I had paintings on the edge of the shelf. It took me forever to find this painting. I knew I had it, didn't know where I stashed it. So there you go. Fun times. Imagine if they're all 30 by 40s. Ah, I see you with that little Look Lebowski and the storage of the paintings. Gotta love it. Oh, you're right. December birthday. A painting organizer. Does that mean like Lebowski's gonna organize my paintings? Is that what it is? Like a human painting organizer? That's pretty funny. Okay, so you need something to draw with. You need a sketchbook, piece of paper, whatever. I pulled out my very used and abused sketchbook. And we're going to start with this one. I do want to do work for both of these. I think both of these would be great. And let me tell you, we'll talk through what I'm thinking, first of all. This is even brighter in real life. It's a little dulled down here in the studio under the camera. But I painted this on a farm in Wisconsin during Fall Color Week. And there's these little chickens, and they had these big watering bins that they had turned into gardens, and it was the end of the season, so everything was like the sunlight was coming through and hitting the plants, and you had like the ends of the tomatoes. There's like little red dots in here for tomatoes, and dried up things that were glowing with the light, and I really loved it. So I want to reproduce this, and I loved the darkness back here. I haven't decided if I want a sky. I love the idea that it does not have a sky. The sky was way up here, but there were also some great things that you all may or may not know I love. Telephone poles being one of them. I absolutely love me a telephone pole and a telephone wire. So that was one thing that I don't have in here that I thought would be really fun to add back in, just to have that man-made human element. But I think I want more foreground and more chicken action and at least one little girl. So, Annie C., welcome. So glad you're here. You guys are all, you rock. Thanks for showing up tonight. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Whatever we develop with that, and I'm going to pull up on screen. I've pulled up. Sometimes when I'm out, if I see something, I'll take a quick picture. And so I've got this little girl was at a playground, and the light is not hitting her in the right direction. It would have to be hitting her from the backside, which I could flip this. But I think what I'm going to do is set up a photo shoot and kind of figure out how I want the kids to interact. Is the child, like, is it 2 little kids? Is it 3 little kids and they're feeding the chickens? That might be a really fun activity. And then I have to time it right to kind of get that late afternoon. Oh, I know. Isn't she cute? She is so cute. I'll give you some more pictures. Here's another one. She was playing in the sand and had like a little cup, and she was talking to her mom, and I took a little photo. And then here's another one. Her mom handed her something. Oh, she was just adorable in her little hat that came down. So I thought that was really fun, and I want to involve that. So that a little girl in a dress with a hat and the sun hitting the backside, so instead of the front of her cap like it shows in this image, it would be on the back of her head coming down if she's facing in this way in this image. So we're going to do some little sketches of that. I also have, when my mom and I went to a lavender farm, and I'll have to pull this in here. Let me see. She may remember this. She might not have seen what I saw, but there was this little boy. He was so cute. They had a dinosaur park in the lavender farm. And so I got a couple little shots of him because I loved, look his little shoes and his little leg. Oh, he's so cute. So I thought it'd be really fun. We're going to see what we can sketch to make the kids feeding the chickens. And we're going to kind of work on the composition and think about what we want or what the elements were so that I can rebuild this piece into a large master painting, and then what would make it exciting and different things that we may come up with. So This was one, we're gonna work on sketching this. So I've got, a pencil, just a sketchbook, markers, some resource photos that I have on my drive. I'll try to pull some up. I have to resize them if I do that. So I'll try to pull some images up that I've pulled in, and we'll kind of go from there. I probably have a lot of different chicken and garden scenes. And if I need more chicken references, I've got 2 left out in the yard. So I can always go out and tease them with treats to kind of entice them to get the positions I need to photograph them so I can get the light. I want to make sure that I hit my shadows and my light correctly, or the whole thing is going to look wrong. Okay, there's that one. The other one that I really want to try sketching, and I don't know that we'll have time, but I figured I'd talk to y'all about it, is this piece. So this is in Cave Point, again in Wisconsin, and there were so many things. I brought this back inside, and it doesn't quite have the level of brightness, which I could put in now in this piece, like go in post and mess with it. It hasn't been touched since I painted it. This is how it walked off the rocks with me. But there are so many things. I have so many reference photos. While I was there, I did some filming, and I did a lot of photographing of the people. And so I've got people having picnics, walking up and down. I have kids playing on this rock face right here, which I think is just really interesting of what else happening along the surf. I think it's funny. However, I painted this guy over here. He looks like he's streaking naked in the corner. Cracks me up every time I look at this painting. But I think the light, how it hits the rocks, and then what happens on the lake with the sunlight and the waves coming in could be really magical. I think it could be, it could feel like a summer vacation kind of thing, and I really want the people involved. I don't know if anybody else will find that interesting, but I think it would just be like, Go West, you're right, very magical. Like, I think it could be a magical vacation. Like, it's vacation. Like, I can smell coconuts, even though it's Wisconsin, it's not the ocean, but same kind of feel. So that's what I want to do with this one. And I want to take a look at all of the people images and see how I want them to interact in this space and what kind of story I want to tell. It still feels a little lonely. There are things that I like. Like, I love that this lady's walking with her dogs, but I think the stalker's kind of creepy. So maybe there should have been somebody over here instead. And like, the little boy up here is neat, but he's kind of lonely. I don't know. I think it would have been better to have a couple sitting up here, or maybe kids climbing. Like, maybe there's a bunch of kids. You have picnickers. We could add picnickers down under here. So it has a lot of potential that I could add things to. Luckily, it does not have kitten feet. I don't know where she went. If I bring water out, she's going to show up. I'll tell you that. She's a disaster. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking with that. Let's start with this guy. And I wanted to kind of go over scale. So this piece is I think it's 9 by 12. I've got my ruler here. Yes, this is a 9 by 12. But we're going to do a 30 by 40. So we've got to scale it to a 30 by 40 size. And so the first thing that I'm going to do, let me just block this so you guys can see me drawing for a little bit, is draw some thumbnails. So we're going to play with this planning stage. I could sketch without a box if I wanted, but I really think scale is important. And so I am just simply going to make any division of 30 by 40 works. So I could do 3 by 4 inches little boxes, which would be an easy start. So we could come in here and I could go, okay, so I'm going to draw from 1 to 4. And then I'm just going to come over here. This is a square, so it's pretty easy. So I drew it right at the quarter mark. So I'm going to have to go 3 1/4 to 7 1/4 right to there. And then same up here. Oh, it's a little off, but we're just going to go close enough. Okay. Now you get the job of imagining that this is gigantic. So 30 by 40 is not too off. 9 by 12, 9 times 3 is 27. 12 by 3 is 36. So scale-wise, it's pretty close. It may be too narrow for everything I want to do, but I could also scale certain things. So let's play with that idea, okay? I know that I want my horizon at least, because we've got this fabulous dark tree line, and there was a lot of interesting stuff going on up there. So I want it high, like right in here high, because I need enough field and grass below. Okay? So that's my first line, is that. And then here's the question is, did I go wrong on this by having my field cut 9, 4? I didn't. I thought maybe it was a halfway mark, but it isn't. So that's good to know. There was like a road way up in here and then a field. I don't know that I need a road, but a little less field would work. So this may be my field line, okay? And it's that simple. Lebowski, are you still on the my nudist guy in the other painting? That is funny, right? Doesn't he look like he's just streaking? Or he could be in a very shiny wetsuit. I don't know. It's so funny. It cracks me up. I think he was topless and he had, like long shorts on. Those like almost like a wetsuit shorts. But the way the sunlight was hitting him, and then my light wasn't right. I was under a dark shade with the sun in my eyes. So everything was off. My colors were all off. But that cracks me up that I put him in there and he does look like a streaker. So funny. Okay, so I know that I want some children and we do need planters. So here's where it gets a little weird. Like these in here come down to the foreground. So it almost makes me feel like I need a different scale of a painting, which we can talk about that and play with it and then figure out what the scale is. Go West, you don't think he looks like a streaker? I think he totally looks like a streaker. So I know that I want planters. I know I like the angle that I had. But, so it comes in here, and it's a pretty sharp angle that all of these came in at. And I don't even have it right here. More like this, okay? So notice if they're all in a line, I did a whole line here, even though they're going to be split, right? So these angles should all match. Well, they're going to have a different vanishing point, so they are going to not exactly match. That's wrong too. Okay. And then this would be up and down. And then mirror that. And then back, right? So these are, imagine that these bins are here, all right? And then I'd have some chickens. And I have all kinds of chicken photos, but I actually think that this thing needs to be rescaled when it's bigger, which is okay. I'll talk about how to do that. So if I had some children, let's say I have a little person, I'm guessing a little person to this would probably only be sized about like that. Like that might be my little person max size if my bin is here. Let's say that this was a foot and my little person's not quite 3 feet tall. And that's another thing, like, do I need to borrow somebody's little person and then go to a garden center? Or go to a garden center, there's one right down the road from my work, and spend some time and wait for parents who are walking by with their kids, find the right kind of container and try to capture how they size to some of these things, because I don't know. Or I figure out how they size to a chicken, and then I know because I know how big my chickens were. So there's some things like that that I have to... Oh, yes. I see what you're saying, Annie C. Pogo proof? I don't have the lid on it. So I do have a travel mug, but I left the lid downstairs. And she's nowhere to be seen because I don't have any water out. Okay. So, little kids, let's say that that's standing up, but maybe this little kid... Little sundress, little hat. Maybe put the hat here. And maybe it's a little kid and they're throwing the feed, right? So those little feet, they're probably bare feet, even though they shouldn't be. Who knows? So I took my box away and I'm just trying to get an idea of what would be going on here. More than likely they'd be chasing the chickens. That may be too small. That little person looks too small. Like I feel like they need to be more like that size than that size. So I've got some things with scale to really concept out and resolve. Little kids do all kinds of fun things. That's another thing, is I need to go to playgrounds. So things that I can do in the meantime, playgrounds, the zoo, the garden center. So what I'm doing is starting to think about, okay, where can I go to get these resources? Where can I go to get ideas of how kids move in real life so that I can bring that back to my painting? I've got a stage. I know what the stage generally is. I know that I want late afternoon, that golden light. That's what's happening here. And I want the sunlight to hit it so that all of the brush and the things that are ending at that Indian summer, that end of summer time period is all golden. So that I know I want. I know that I want chickens. So whether I keep them like this, whether I move them around, like maybe this guy right here, he needs to be over here. Most of the time they spend with their butts in the air and they eat. That's what chickens do. So they scratch and then they eat. So there's a little chicken. Maybe I have it in here. And I've got to think about the composition. How do I want things to go in my image? All right. Do I have a little kid? Typically what I was going to say is they're going to chase the chickens. I really think they'll chase the chickens. Or do they squat down? Is there a little kid who's like squatting down? Maybe a little to the side like this and leaning out, holding their little arm. So this will be messy for a while, but I kind of try to get the feel for what they're doing or how their little bodies would sit in space to balance themselves. So this little guy would be like this, and he's got his little hands out. Feeding this chicken right here. You know, and maybe there's a kid back here. Maybe the kid's leaning on this or could be sitting on this. It's hard to tell. You know, like they'll get into everything. So what would the kids actually do in this situation? And would I have a chicken sneaking up on him over here? Maybe one coming in because I want something to come into this scene. So I've really got to think about how many things I have going on. Is it one little kid and 3 chickens? Usually I like odd numbers. I don't know if everybody likes odd numbers, but I'm thinking odd numbers. So, you know, little kid, chicken. Doesn't really look like a chicken, but that's okay. I can work the rest out later. Chicken. Chicken. Maybe I keep this little chicken over here. Like, chicken doesn't care. Honey bear don't care. Chicken don't care. And then the little kid's over here. That's kind of nice. Like that. And I do like the 1 kid and the 3 chickens. It feels a little empty right now, but I don't know that it would. I could move these guys down. So this could move down here. And we move that down a little bit. Now, remember I said, you know, I don't really have to worry about this because I could enlarge it. So I could say, okay, if this is this big, meaning if I said the bottom of the canvas goes to here and here's the side, and then I measure and I go, well, how tall is that? So it is 4.5, okay? So that means that that's tall. So to get to 40, let's take 40 and divide by 4.5. So I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to use my calculator. I'm going to say, okay, I know, or sorry, 30. I know my canvas is 30 inches. I'm going to divide it by 4.5, 6.66. Now I'm going to multiply that. See if this works. By 6.66 equals 4.5. Okay, so then that's what we do. We say 40, if I'm doing 40 inches wide, divided by 6.66. So 40 divided by 6.66 equals, it's about 6 inches. That means this guy is going to go all the way over to here, which means a lot of things have to change. Okay, so this big box is the same. This is 40 by 30. And then this is 30 by 40. It's just a different composition. So that's a lot of empty space. That's not spaced right. It's still not right. The other option is to make it tall. So you can go 30 by 40 and we go, or we just change the whole size. We could go a little taller. I'm almost wondering a square would be kind of cool. Like I could get a little more in with a square, but I don't think I like that. So now we're really starting to think about what we're doing with it. And I don't know about the interaction of kids. What do you guys think? Any ideas? What would kids be doing with chickens? Would they feed them? Would they be chasing them? Would they be kneeling down? Like this little guy? Actually, I think if they knelt down, their butts and feet are pretty much the same spot. Like they would be almost butt to the ground because I've seen it. Like that. He's like not quite the right size. There were other elements too, so we could bring something in here. There was a clothesline, which is kind of a cool idea, but I'd probably only have one side of it, maybe. If I had like a clothesline coming in here, and I don't want it too goofy, but that would be a way to add something into this space. We could add some kind of playground equipment or kid stuff. Like maybe he came over and he was on a big wheel. So maybe there's, they have one of those recessed big wheels. Little handle. I can't remember. It's in the front, isn't it? The wheel is in the front, the big wheel, and then the seat comes back here. It's like maybe there's a bike or some other kind of thing. Maybe there's a couple little girls and they're just dancing in the background. Like they're just, they just float around and throw their arms in the air and sunlight's coming in their hair. Or they're playing chase or they're running. I think if they run, she needs to run into the frame. So again, erase all my notes and stuff since I started drawing over here. Is it little arms running in? We'll start out as stick figures. You're going to watch me figure this out in stick figure form. I like the "you got me," or hands up in the air, kind of twirling. Feeding them's good. Chasing and trying to catch them, definitely. I think some kids would do that. I just do. Maybe I have a kid over here and he's chasing another one that's running away. There's chicken calamity. Chickens are like, "You gotta be kidding me." My chicken calamity going on, which isn't quite right, but so I've got quite a bit of like research to do and then playing, and I could do different things with this composition. Maybe I don't even have the characters in it yet. I could simply, this was my original, so start with the smaller boxes. trying to get my original box size, kind of. I think that was about right. Maybe not quite right. And there's certain things that, you know, like, where is my darkness at? And I can start to place these items. And yeah, I'm just going in here with the marker all crazy like. How nuts is that? Meanwhile, Lebowski's still wondering where we're going to store all these 30 by 40 paintings, which is funny. Shadows. Shadows. Bring this down. I like that this shape could meet this down here. Like, I think that's kind of a neat composition idea. And having all kinds of stuff going on in here. I think it's going to have a lot of darkness. And then the light really hits this piece up here. So this is all dark. In fact, I think most of these are. And with the exception of the critters, like if this guy were over here, he's got a shadow. Kind of what we have going on right now. There's something over here that connects these guys right there as far as shapes. This is a neat study too, to kind of look at the shapes themselves in black and whites. Like, do we start designing like that? That's kind of a neat idea. I love it. They need temporary storage because they'll be sold 3 months after publishing and showing them. Exactly. I think that is definitely the answer. Let's do another little study like this. I like the idea of breaking it down into what works. So I made a smaller box. Just get this same idea. And I'm trying to think through this concept of how far over would... I like the light breaking up on top. That's kind of neat. Whatever's going on, like it breaking through there. I think I took a little too much off this section right there. And then this being solid right there. I like the idea of it cutting in here somehow. So that was nice. And this continuation. And I've got to make sure that I've got lots of light coming in here, but then shadows. So shadows coming around. how those will go. The only way you can define those shapes is to have that middle part kind of inset. Which I like. That idea. I don't know if that would be right or not. I almost feel like this needs more white in there. It's just not quite right. Let's try another one. What if I broke this down even more? Where I had an abstract plan. Like if I made this an abstract painting, I kind of like the idea of steps coming in here. And I like this. If you guys drawn with a marker lately, it is really fun just to kind of break something down and then make shapes with it. Kind of a neat idea. That very bottom one, I like the pattern with everything. This would be my chicken. Like triangle right here, shadow, little mouth, something like that. Now that doesn't take into account all the additional things that I want to put into the painting, but it's something. Ooh, what's a toe pen? So Go West has a toe pen. This is just something I grabbed out of my drawer that I don't even know the brand. It's all in either Japanese or Chinese letters. So I don't know what it is. A tool marker? Yeah, I don't know, but it's really nice to just kind of plan out and get that concept based off of this and then breaking it down further. That's kind of a cool idea to do your shadows and your light. And then the balance. Now what I haven't done is played with possibly drawing this up and down. So let's say that it is, I usually don't like a vertical though. Maybe a square. So I could do a 40 by 40 square. I think I'd like a square shape. It's about a square. And that way I could have, same idea. I like the idea of sunlight kind of coming through there and having a nice dark area, and then some sort of a diagonal, more area here. So this is my land, and then There's that. I'm gonna have to do it this way before we can resolve it. That gives us more stuff to work with. Like if I put a kid in here, I kind of like that. Because then I've got, let's say that we have, where's that one? Where he's feeding the chickens. So he's down here and maybe he's here. He's got a little ball cap on, like that. He's got a hand out. He's trying to feed those chickens. Looks like a rabbit. And of course I know my shadows are all going this way, so he's gonna be like this. And then he's too small. He's too small. That's my problem. Looks like a rabbit because he's too small compared to the size of everything else. So he's got his little hands out. Now he looks like a weird rabbit. Boy, that's weird. Oh well. And then I've got my, I could have a chicken like this way, eating. So that could be an option. I don't know. I have to still work on playing with this. Okay. Corn husks has a dash over the center character. Looks like corn husks. That's funny. Okay. Ooh, look at that. I didn't even know this had this. Check this out, guys. This pen has a whole other little drawing tool on the other side. Had no idea ever. Look at that. That's fun. That's hilarious, right? Does not even know what her own tools do. Let's get the pencil out for a second. Okay. And the other thing I can do is check my stuff and say, okay, do I have any photos of any kids in a playground, you know, messing around? Sometimes I keep stuff like this because I'll photograph, and I dumped a bunch of kids in playgrounds photos in this folder. That doesn't mean anybody was digging in the playground the way I want them to, but a girl can dream. Nope. Kids talking to each other. These kids have a swing, so they're a little tied up. Yeah, I don't have anything on here that I see as far as like a really good reference for what I'm thinking. because they're so little. They're like, you know, and then let's see. I think they would lean forward a bit too. They're so bendy when they're little. Okay, so I'm going to have to do some more sketching, guys. And then I'll work on putting this all together. And we'll kind of go from there. But this was the idea, just to get talking about it. Probably not the most exciting show ever, but maybe you'll think of something that you've been wanting to do and it'll inspire you. Like, one of the cool things about this whole exercise is there's always that question of, where am I going to go paint? What am I going to go paint? When am I going to go paint? And so now I've got a whole set of chores. Like I could take every lunch day the next 2 weeks and go around the corner to the playground, and I can go down to the garden center, and this weekend I can go to the zoo, and I can start to try to get some photo references and some sketches of exactly what I'm looking for, because now I'm asking questions. Well, wait a second. What do kids look like when they're playing in the sand or in the dirt or in a farm or left to their own devices? Explore a museum might be a fun place for me to go and watch the kids play. So I've got some marching orders and some ideas of what I need to do so that I can put this together. Eventually, once I get my poses and the composition generally set, then I might have to do a photo session and more references. But I'm not simply taking this and blowing it up. I could have it just like this and blow it up. It'll scale right. I could have it almost read in an abstract kind of way. I could add a couple more chickens, but I want it to be a little more than that. I want there to be a little more storytelling. So I'm going to have to think about this whole thing, try to get some inspiration, and do some sketching before I take this one any further. I probably should have started with this other one tonight because I have so many more references that I can just build people in the situation. But oh well. Thank you guys for watching. Go West. Thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed the studies. I have a ways to go on this, right? Holy cow. I thought, oh, this will be easy. I can pull this together quickly. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I got so much work to get this right. Lebowski. I don't think I'll be the creepy person in the crowd taking pictures of kids. And I could probably always explain myself. So I don't think, I'm not too worried about it. But I could see your point. Some people would be creepers. Anyway, Annie C., thanks for dropping in. J. Frederick, Art, so fun to see you here. Go West. You guys are awesome. Have a great week. Happy painting. Let me know what you're up to. Would love to see it. And I think I'm around for Friday Night Dinos. I should be. I have no more excuses. I have been working on my most recent Birth of Dinos after the birth of Venus, and it is now ready for me to redraw it on a new sheet. I have done color studies. I've been working out the details, and it needs to be painted beautifully now. It's a hot mess. Talk about a development. That piece has been through the mill. I've spent a lot of time on it. So hope to see you there Friday night, 6 to 8. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you all, and bye.